Peace, peace. This is Brother Faheem, and you are now tuned in to the Lead with Logic podcast. You know the vibes. Peace, peace, peace. Welcome back, welcome back. I am your gracious and most humble host, Brother Faheem, and you are now tuned in to the Lead with Logic podcast. Thank you so much for coming back, Listen, y'all. Like I always tell y'all, man, life moves at such an ultramagnetic sonic pace that I try to keep my boots laced so that I can win the race. Man, we have such a delightful show ready. Such a delightful show prepared for y'all today. It's right up my alleyway, man. I think the people are going to absolutely enjoy. I think they're going to love it. And it is something that is ultimately it's crazy. It's necessary, and it's sad that it is, but we live in a real world, man, and so things happen. Listen, I want to tell you guys, there's three of y'all in here. Look, and I appreciate it. Check this out. Wherever you at, wherever you are, if you on YouTube, listen, copy that link, send it out to 50 people. Right? And if you're on Facebook, repost it 50 times or at least one time and send it to about 50 people. But yes, I appreciate you guys coming back. Man, very, very dope topic today. Very, very dope topic. We are going to get into black militias, so to speak, and what goes on with those, right? Black militias. First and foremost, let me say this. Lead with Logic7.com. Go to leadwithlogic7.com. Get your hats, hoodies, tees. Got my fresh Lead with Logic tie-dye, powder puff, pink hoodie with my white hat. Man, it's always good to put logic on your brain. You dig? Get the logic on your brain. You dig it? What's going on? Hey, I see you. What's going on, free? Listen, why don't you go get our people from X, man? Send it to them. I'm gonna send out some notifications. Y'all give me a quick second. I'm gonna send out some notifications, but let me intro what I have going on. So I'm gonna put something on for you guys to watch. Black militias, right? The real Watchmen. There's a show on HBO. I want to say it was on HBO. I know it was a show called The Watchmen. And in The Watchmen, it revises history. What it does is it discusses the events that occurred on Black Wall Street. Now, you all are familiar with the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre, i.e., known as the Black Wall Street. What happened was there was a mob accused a black man of having a relationship with a white woman, and this calls for there to be chaos and drama. Now, what ends up happening is there were white men threatening to kill this young brother, but the black men in Black Wall Street said, no, that's not going down. It's not happening like that. So on The Watchmen, they deal with Black Wall Street being, decimated. However, the way they revise it is they create these protectors. They create these defenders of society, right? And they have masks over their faces, right? They hold masks over their faces. And this is to, right, do their job without there being any type of backlash to their families. Regina King is in this. She's one of them, right? And so when they go out and patrol, when they go out at night, they wear masks, right? They wear masks. And so I thought it was very interesting. Louis Gossett Jr., he's also in it. He plays a role in it. But what we have seen recently, I got a hold of some information. Lincoln Heights, Ohio. I don't know if you guys have heard of Lincoln Heights, Ohio. There was some Nazis that posted up close to a school when some children got out of school. And, they were using intimidation and scare tactics, as we've seen, right? And so this community is a black community. The way they responded was they formed up a militia and they armed themselves and they began to do safety and watch and patrol their community. Man, I I was super duper proud because this is the way we're supposed to do it. This is the way our community should function. One of the ways, right? They didn't wait for the law, and the law was aware of it. But like so many times in history, when we weren't given the aid of the government, the local government or the national government, we took matters and means into our own hands. And that's the way it should be. While I'm sending out these notifications, I'm going to play the news clip. Well, actually, you know what? No, I'm not gonna play the news clip. I'm gonna play what Minister Malcolm X said about us arming ourselves. Now, I want to mind you, some people might say, well, it's unnecessary. People are taking the law into their own hands, but we live in a country where they ramsacked the White House. And not only did they ransack the White House, many of them were pardoned by the president. And so what I'm saying is, hey, listen, we have to take matters, or you can understand how the black community takes matters into its own hands legally to protect ourselves. But I want to take it back to Minister Malcolm X and what he had to say about arming ourselves, because many people credit the Black Power movement, which is where we see a lot of these things, a lot of the black community arming itself, a lot of these tactics that will protect us, right? Before the, well, after the Black Wall Street, we had people, obviously there were towns and there were black enclaves that were doing it. But I would say Malcolm's ideology and philosophy on the topic really commercialized it in the black community and made it very, very popular, a very, very popular philosophy. So I want to play this for you. And as I do this, I'll be inviting some people. So y'all check it out.
How can you advocate violence in an area where 3 men have disappeared who were doing nothing but trying to show our people how to register to vote? This is the violence is already there. We are going there to put down the violence since the government isn't able to stop the violence that's being committed against Negroes. We feel that it is necessary to put a halt to this violence ourselves. And Lyndon B. Johnson just stated this week that this government would go to war to protect the peace that this government wants. And we feel that our people have reached the point wherein we can see that we're going to have to go to war against the racists in this country and make war against them ourselves in order to preserve our own peace and in order to preserve our own lives and our own property. And this is not advocating any kind of violence. This is being prepared to retaliate against those who are violent with us. And we think that this is the only language that the Ku Klux Klan and the White Citizens Council and the George Lincoln Rockwells and these other racists and extremists understand. It's not advocating violence. Our people there are already the victims of violence and have been the victims of brutal violence on the part of the Klan. We're advocating self defense units and self defense units alone.
Who would the victims of this guerrilla army be?
Only the racists, only the people who are inflicting criminal assault upon the lives and the property of our people in that area. One of the things that they could do, they could see that the federal government had to intervene. Since Jim Foreman and others there have not been able to get government intervention with peaceful methods, we feel that we can send in enough brothers into that area to carry on a campaign of terror against the Ku Klux Klan to the point where the government would have to intervene itself and occupy the state of Mississippi.
That was our brother, the late great minister Malcolm X. El-Haj Malik El-Shabazz, one of the ancestors, one of the great one of the great original men, one of the gods, and what he said. Now, I wanted to play that for you guys because it placed in context the mentality and the philosophy of the brothers and sisters that you guys are getting ready to witness. So I want y'all to remember what you saw. Now, what I'm going to play for you now is the actual news. Report. Actual news report on these brothers and sisters. Yes, so y'all check this out. This is the actual news report that I saw, and it explains in depth exactly what happened, who's helping, and how they're helping.
Turn now to one community in Ohio, which is now the center of a growing national debate about civil rights, hate speech, and the Second Amendment. NBC News correspondent and NBC News Now daily anchor Morgan Radford visited the town of Lincoln Heights, where residents have formed an armed community defense group in the wake of a neo-Nazi rally. Morgan joins us now. You were there just on Tuesday. What did the residents tell you about what's going on?
Yeah, I was there just this week. John, it was fascinating because what's interesting is that this town was founded during the Great Migration back in the 1920s as a refuge for Black citizens, which is why it was especially painful when neo-Nazis suddenly appeared in this 3,000-person majority Black town. But they decided to fight back, taking up arms and patrolling their own streets. Now they're at the center of a much larger debate about protection and free speech and who gets it.
These aren't police officers or soldiers.
Your business owners, your fathers, your sons, daughters.
These are civilians, members of the Lincoln Heights Safety and Watch program.
It's a duty. Okay, let's go.
The duty, protecting their neighborhood, the majority Black village of Lincoln Heights, Ohio. After neo-Nazis held a rally here last month, carrying rifles, waving swastikas, and hurling racial slurs, just moments before children were let out of school. At the time, law enforcement officials said the neo-Nazis did not break any laws, but an investigation by county prosecutors is ongoing. Weeks later, the KKK came with these flyers.
First African-American community above the Mason-Dixon line of staff.
Safety and Watch Group spokesperson Durrance Daniels says the police did not do enough, which was more chilling because the town was founded in the 1920s as a safe haven for Black residents.
Lincoln Heights is our home. If somebody broke into your home, you call the police, and the police says, you know, if they do it again, we haven't broken any law, so we're just going to allow them to break into your home again. What would you do?
Are you worried at all that having a potentially armed response could just create more friction, create more danger?
I'll answer that by saying I've never felt safer as a Black man in my community than I have right now.
The mayor of Evendale, which oversees the police force that responded that day, said in a statement to NBC News, "Our emphasis on de-escalation and public safety resulted in the incident's resolution without injuries to any of the persons involved." But residents here say they can't afford to wait. Every day, the Safety and Watch Group escorts children to school and patrols the streets.
Why do you all wear masks?
Those Nazis, we have reports of them finding our backgrounds, so we're not hiding ourselves from the residents, but we're protecting our family from what we're doing out here.
While many locals do support the security group, some, like business owner Eric Ruffin, say they wish the group wasn't needed.
We don't want to become what we hate. You know, we don't want to become a group of people that walk around feeling like we have a reason in America to have to protect ourselves.
And this community
Stand up.
Stand up.
is not backing down.
We contacted the mayor of Evendale's office, and they say that prosecutors are looking at body camera footage of the neo-Nazi rally to see if any criminal charges could be filed. But meantime, the Hamilton County Sheriff is also calling on state lawmakers to pass legislation making it a crime to wear a mask with the purpose of intimidation while open carrying, guys.
So, Morgan, let me ask you, one of the people you interviewed there, a young man, said he's never felt safer in his community than he does now. So this could have an impact nationwide, things like this. I mean, there is a contagion factor in safety. People always seek it. What did the mayor or anybody that you spoke to think about the contagion factor?
Duran's, I don't want to speak for him, but after my conversation with him, I feel like I could confidently say he would say the contagion factor has already happened. Because when I asked, is this a reaction to a local moment or a national movement? And he said, look at January 6th. He said, you already have people felt emboldened to come here locally because of what they saw nationally. If you can hang from the building of the hallowed halls of the Capitol and then be pardoned, not be prosecuted, why don't you think you can come to a small village of African Americans, only 3,000 people?
Morgan, does the group have any real authority? But as long as they stay within the confines of the law, they should be okay.
It's a great question. You know, I asked that basically, are you stopping cars when they come in because you think someone looks suspicious? Is that, you know, profiling in its own sort of way? And they said, no. We are patently aware of what our rights are and what our limitations are. They said, we're not officers. What we do is we are trying to cooperate with the police department. So if we see suspicious activity, because remember the KKK came back with flyers just after this rally. So they're saying this is more of a defensive posture to deter people from entering our community and showing them by virtue of our mask, by virtue of our guns, that you can't come here and we're not going to take this punchline down.
All right. Important story. Fascinating. NBC News correspondent and NBC News Now daily anchor, Morgan Radford. Morgan, thank you. Good to see
you. So there we see it, y'all. There we see it. For those of you guys who watched it, listen. For those of you guys who watched it live. So Lincoln Heights, Ohio, neo-Nazis hold a demonstration right before the kids let out of school. And the local police, the local authorities, I should say, looked into it and said, hey, the neo-Nazis weren't doing anything wrong. They were well within their rights to do what they did. And not only that, we saw where the KKK came back not too far afterwards and was passing out leaflets. This is very interesting. Also, it was interesting how the guy, if y'all heard, if you watched, you go back and watch the clip, he said, hey, this could have national implications, right? What are they doing? Are they, are they profiling people? Are they deeming people, good enough to come in? Are they deeming people a threat? Are they deeming people, how are they profiling people basically? How are they determining, hey, this person is a threat and this person is not? This person is non-threat. That's interesting. And he said, we're in alignment with the police. We're trying to help. Now, this is 2025, right? And it's a shame that any black person, any person really, but especially any black person would have to go through something of this nature. Why is it that in all these years, we still have to form up ourselves? We still have to help ourselves, right? We still have to take up arms. We still have to do those things. But honestly, brothers and sisters, it's kind of good for us. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to y'all. It's good for us. It's good for us to have to work together. This does a few things, right? It forces us to learn the laws and how we function within them, right? Remember, the Panthers weren't just guys, and we're going to talk about that. The Panthers weren't just guys who all of a sudden one day decided to pick up guns. That's not it at all. These were college-educated brothers who met in college, who then learned the laws, worked inside of the laws, right? Almost, in conjunction. Well, not really in conjunction with the people's laws, right? But, they were counter to the police because we understand there was a lot of police brutality happening at this point. But it will force us to get familiar with the laws, right? Because we ought to be law-abiding citizens. We're not saying that anybody should carry illegally. We're not saying that anybody, or I'm not saying that anybody should carry illegally. I'm not saying that anybody should do anything that would compromise their freedom, i.e., their safety for them, their person, or anybody in their cipher, their post, or their environment, right? That's family, that's neighbors, whoever. But absolutely make sure that you make yourself knowledgeable, make yourself familiar with what you can and cannot do. And also getting in groups. This is something, brothers and sisters, that we have done historically, right? We have historically protected ourselves, right? Whether it was the Black Wall Street or it was, in fact, most recently, before this group, right? And so it's like Malcolm said, oftentimes these conditions are created when the authorities fail to do their job. And like the sister said, when she was asked, because the guy said, this is the safest I felt in my community. It's only 3,000 people. This is a small town. This is a small community. And she said, well, how do you feel? He said, this is the safest I've been. If people can run up to the White House, then they can do anything. What do you think they can do to this small town? And again, even more so than that, the president of the United States now pardoned them. See, that pardon also, it it does two things, right? It emboldens the mind of the maniac, and it also gives those potential, or those people who could be victims, those people who could be probable victims. It gives them a sense of urgency. Now we must do what we need to do to protect ourselves, as it should. So yeah, absolutely, the violence is not a good thing, but sometimes we have to prepare for war so that we can enjoy peace later. And I think this is good for us enjoying peace in the long run. That's what I'm trying to say. So let's get into this. Let's get right on into it. Again, welcome. I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate everybody for coming through and supporting. Again, LeaveLogic7.com, LeaveLogic7.com. Go on over, man. Grab your hats, hoodies, and tees, please. Like I always say, grab a friend and tune in. Hey, look, man, grab a friend and tune in to the page. You dig what I'm saying? To the store, the page of the store. Yes. So I'm still sending out notifications to get people in here. So this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. We just about sent people. This is what I'd like to do. I'm gonna get started so that we can go ahead forward. So that we can go forward with this. All right. Let's see. All right. So, again, whoever you are, wherever you at, please, if you're in here, man, make sure I got my brother Free in here. It's two of us in here. That means we're an army of three. And that's the way it's going to be. It's cool. But if you make yourself known in the comments, definitely we can have a discussion. If y'all have something to add in, please add it in the comments. And listen, for you guys who are watching this back, please comment. Give me your comments, concerns, and questions and all that good stuff. And I will make sure that I get back to you, because I do that. I read the comments. You dig? So, black militias, right? Black militias. Black militias is a part of our history. I'm going to show you guys a book real quick that I got. It's by Akinyele Omowale Umoja. I got this back, I want to say in 2013. I'm not sure. This is a great book that I recommend on the topic. We're talking about, right, self-defense, right? The name of the book is We Will Shoot Back, right? We Will Shoot Back. Great book, great read. And what it does is it chronicles the Mississippi freedom fight and a lot of different organizations. It chronicles a lot of different organizations. I remember when I went and actually heard the brother speak back home in Chicago. He talked about how he was motivated to write it. Was he was giving a speech here in Georgia, and somebody raised up, one of the students raised up, and she was from Jamaica, and she said, well, you know, we fought, we don't know anything about slavery because we didn't allow ourselves to be oppressed in the way that Afro-Americans did through the civil rights movement, through all of those movements. And he said, man, it really sparked something in my brain to make me go and do the research, because there's different people, right? There are different movements. We're going to talk about a few of those people today, at least some of the movements, a few of the people, but you got people like Hartman Turnbow, right? He was a person who shot back. Vernon Dahmer, right? He was a farmer, right? He shot back. E.W. Steptoe, an Amite County farmer, right? Described as a fearless warrior. These are just people that he talked about. Of course, he talked about Medgar Evers and Amzi Moore. These are all people who believed in armed resistance, who believed in defending the communities. And so I would recommend that you guys grab this when you get a chance. We Will Shoot Back. Great book, great book. Akinyele Umoja, Armed Resistance in the Mississippi Freedom Movement. That's a book that deals with the history of armed resistance. But we're going to go into some stuff. So we're going to give you guys a little bit of history, right? And I want to show this so that you guys can see it for yourself and look this stuff up, right? When you get a chance, if you so please. So that when you're in these conversations, right, when you're in these conversations that deal with armed resistance and how we responded as a community, you'll have some reference points and you'll have some expertise, or at least you'll be familiar with it. So the Deacons for Self-Defense, or Deacons for Defense and Justice. On July 10th, 1964, a group of African-American men in Jonesboro, Louisiana, led by Ernest Chili Willie Thomas and Frederick Douglass Kirkpatrick. What names, right? Founded the group known as the Deacons for Defense and Justice to protect members of the Congress of Racial Equality. Now, for those of you all who do not know who the Congress of Racial Equality was, it was a group that was founded to fight racial injustice, much like the NAACP, much like SNCC, much like the SCLC. Their most prominent and most recognizable member was James Farmer. If you want to know who James Farmer was, go watch the movie The Great, I think it was The Great Debaters, where you have my man, what's his name? Nate something. He made what's the movie? Birth of a Nation. Then you have the Smollett girl, and then you have the brother. I want to say his name is Denzel Whitaker or Forrest Washington, something like that. But they're all at a college and they debate. And the youngest of them is James Farmer. That's who James Farmer is. But he's instrumental in creating the CORE, right? That organization, right? So the Deacons for Defense and Justice to protect members of the Congress of Racial Equality against Ku Klux Klan violence. Most of the deacons were veterans of World War II and the Korean War. The Jonesboro chapter organized its first affiliate chapter in nearby Bogalusa, Louisiana, led by Charles Sims, A.Z. Young, and Robert Hicks. Eventually, they organized a third chapter in Louisiana. The Deacons' tense confrontation with the Klan in Bogalusa was crucial in forcing the federal government to intervene on behalf of the local African-American community. Now, again, like we saw, like you guys who were watching live, for those of you who are not, you have to watch back when this is over. This now, Black people arming ourselves, when we armed ourselves, when we got together and created militias, you see where the local government was forced to intervene, right? Well, this was the federal government. But my point is, the federal government didn't just arbitrarily get involved, right? It wasn't a moral conscious thing. It was a force. There was a clear contention. There was a clear conflict that needed to be addressed. This is when the federal government. So, in other words, had those people in this town, right, in Bogalusa, had they just allowed themselves to be oppressed, the federal government would have been good with that. They never, ever, ever would have gotten involved. Let that be a lesson, just like in Lincoln Heights, Ohio. If the people, like Malcolm said, if the government is unwilling or unable to now protect the people should form up self-defense clubs for themselves, black militias for themselves, and protect themselves. We have that constitutional right, brothers and sisters. The national attention they garnered also persuaded state and national officials to initiate efforts to neutralize the Klan in that area of the Deep South. The Deacons emerged one of the first visible self-defense forces in the South, and as such represented a new face in the civil rights movement. Traditional civil rights organizations remained silent on them or repudiated their activities. They were effective, however, in providing protection for local African Americans who sought to register to vote and for white and black civil rights workers in that area. So we see right there, right? That's crazy. We see that the people had criticism, right? And they didn't like the activities, but they utilized them when they wanted to go and vote, when they wanted to engage in their civic duties. They needed the deacons for defense, right? And that's crazy. That is crazy. So we see there's always been different schools of thought in the black community, right? Some black people say, hey, we cannot get down with that. Just like today, we're not a monolith. Black people have never been a monolith, brothers and sisters. We have never been a monolith. And maybe we should be a monolith. Maybe we shouldn't be a monolith, but maybe we shouldn't let our differing in philosophy, in religion, in class, maybe we should not allow that to stop us from unifying. We don't need to be in uniform to have unity, because this puts us all back, right? But you see, there's always been a history of people, some that agree in the black community, some that don't agree. But you also see where, hey, they utilized them services when they needed to get that job done, right? So the Deacons, for example, provided security for the 1966 March Against Fear from Memphis to Jackson, Mississippi. Moreover, their presence in southeastern Louisiana meant that the Klan would no longer be able to intimidate and terrorize local African Americans without challenge. So we see where, again, there have been those groups, there have been those Watchmen type groups that defended us, right? And it just didn't start with this group in the Lincoln Heights, Ohio. No, it started long before then. The strategy and methods that the Deacons employed attracted the attention and concern of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Wow. I'm assuming this was J. Edgar Hoover and the COINTELPRO, which authorized an investigation into the group's activities. The investigation stalled, however, when more influential Black Power organizations such as the U.S. and the Black Panther Party emerged after the 1965 Watts riot. With public attention and attention of the FBI focused elsewhere, the Deacons lost most of their notoriety and slowly declined in influence. By 1968, they were all but extinct. In 2003, the activities of the Deacons was the subject of a 2003 Deacons for Defense documentary. Absolutely. Now, with that being said, hey, I got something else to show you guys. I got something else to show y'all. And welcome. Those of you all who are, what's going on, Aeon? Peace. Welcome. I see you. We're just going down. We're just going through it. We are just going through it. Deacons for Defense out of Louisiana, right? World War II veterans, mostly military members who have been armed. Listen, this is something I see a lot of people online. This could be something that people can do. This could be a job that people probably are already doing. Those people who have that training, they could certify and train people. Listen, brothers and sisters, in the time and the climate that we live in, I see you, Askia. Peace, God. In the time that we're living in, with people being so emboldened and embracing, right? it would only behoove you to defend yourself. It would only behoove you to defend yourself. You know, we live in a world where you can't meet bullets or violence with common sense, not even with spirituality sometimes. You have to use your common sense, right? Because you only have one life, brothers and sisters. That's it. We understand there's no heaven or hell. These are states of mind. Once your heart stops beating and your brain stops having electricity, that's it. It's a wrap. There's nothing in the ground waiting for you, and there's nothing in the sky waiting for you. You're done. And so you want to protect that. You want to protect it. I heard Minister Farrakhan say, you look at a roach will protect this life. It's moving, brothers and sisters. It is moving. And the roach does move. They want to protect their little life. And you should as well, brothers and sisters. You should take your life seriously. And I'm not telling you to go out there and arbitrarily gun anybody down. Don't get yourself in any trouble. But figure out where there are places where you can arm yourselves. Figure out what needs to be done. How can you now safely get a firearm for your home and for your person, depending on what it is you do and things of that nature, right? Because as we see, we have issues, and those issues not only happen outside. We understand sometimes those issues can happen within our communities as well, but we're just dealing with those entities that are outside right now. But I said I had something to show you guys because it talked about 2003, the Deacons for Defense being the subject of a film, right? And I remember watching this film back then because Forrest Whitaker was in it, and I was like, wow, Forrest Whitaker's doing some good work. This is the Deacons for Defense. You guys can find this on YouTube. You see it up there, Deacons for Defense. So check this out. I want you guys to listen and learn.
Never forget it.
So what's on your mind, Marcus?
You killed white men, didn't you, TJ?
Yeah.
How many? You told me. 2, 3 you know of? In the war in Germany?
Yeah.
Why are we afraid now?
Y'all crazy.
I was in the war. I fought hard for my country. I was a tank commander. Archie, you and TJ served together in Korea?
I fought in the first war.
You killed white men.
I did.
You remember Double V? What it meant to Negro soldiers? Victory abroad, victory at home, victory against oppression and racism.
We with you, Marcus.
What happened to that victory?
What you suggesting, sir?
I'm suggesting we defend ourselves. Most of the Negroes live in Mapleton, so we secure it. Archie, TJ, you know how to secure perimeter?
Yes, sir.
First, we arm ourselves. Lock the Klan out of our neighborhood. Second, we take night shifts at the plant so we can watch over our children when they march into protest.
Well, when do we sleep?
You sleep when you're dead. Third, we give armed escorts to these white boys so they can stay and organize so we can get that godforsaken paper plant desegregated and get the jobs we have coming to us.
There was groups like what you're talking about in Alabama, and I think in Mississippi. They made like little armies protecting folks from the night riders.
You get it, so can we.
Marcus, ain't this taking things a little too far?
It's called for, and you know it, Archie.
It's an army of one. Then it's an army of one. I gave my word.
Gentlemen, I've been waiting for this day my whole life.
Archie. All right, then. Let's get started.
That was a scene from the Deacons for Defense. Like I said, it's on YouTube for you guys to go and check it out. Great film. Great film. I want you guys to see that because I love the dialogue that they had because that happened in 64, but unfortunately, we're still having these dialogues today. You heard what the man said, and you kind of saw a little bit of that duality, right? A couple of those philosophies. We read how in the article that I read to you guys about the deacons, you saw how a lot of people, some people did not really appreciate their activities. However, they utilized them when they needed to stay safe to go and register to vote and do other things. You heard the brother say, "Are we going too far?" Not at all. And also, he said, "I fought in the war, right? And I wasn't scared. What's different? Why are we scared now?" These are not things that are foreign to our ears if we've been listening. All the leaders, all the organizations, those that are rooted in self-defense and defending divinity, masculinity, and femininity, they all say the same things. You've probably all heard that. For those of you guys who are at least 60 or 70 and on down, you know about the Nation of Islam. You absolutely know. You know about the Black Panthers. You know, because this was their mentality. This is our mentality, right? So yeah, you guys check that out when you get a chance. And welcome for you guys who are new here coming in. So yeah, that was the Deacons of Defense. Now, going forward, next I want to talk about another group, right? Because listen, there have been several groups that have done this, and I'm just bringing it to the forefront for those kids, bring it to the forefront for those adults, bring it to the forefront to those people who might not be aware. As my man Christopher Biggie Smalls Wallace said, "If you don't know, now you know." So next, from the California African American Museum, on October 15, 1966, Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton formed the Black Panther Party in Oakland, California. Let me say this. Oakland, California has a lot of rich history. People don't really, I don't know if they don't talk about Oakland a lot, but it's a lot of things out of Oakland. And by the way, before we go forward, I'm not sure if it's in this article. It's not. The Panthers wasn't their original idea. The Panthers logo came from the Lowndes County in Alabama. They formed a political party. And what was the symbol? What was the animal that they chose for their party? It was the Black Panther. And so the Black Panthers got it from that. Remember now, when you think about the Great Migration, brothers and sisters, it's a lot of people that are from the South, and they follow the pathway. Like people that went to Chicago came from Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, and they went up to the Midwest. Now, then you got people who went over west to California. They came from Louisiana, right? They came from some parts of Texas, right? And sometimes Alabama, sometimes, Tennessee, but they went over to California. And then, people who obviously went to New York came from the Carolinas, right? Came from Virginia. Then they went on up into New York. They went on up into Philadelphia. And so a lot of those influences, a lot of those things, a lot of that Southern culture, right, that we had left, we just took it with us. We took it with us. And so a lot of the our grandparents, a lot of our elders, they taught us things. If we were old enough, we remember things, right? And so that's what influenced and impacted the Black Panther Party. But listen, I want to read those. I ain't gonna be able to. I'm gonna have to increase that, brothers and sisters, because I ain't gonna be able to see that. So listen, when Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton founded the Black Panther Party for self-defense in '66, they had been friends and political collaborators for almost 5 years, right? That's crazy. Two met like many friends meet in college. Seale was 25 at the time, Newton 19. They had much in common besides the classes they were taking at Oakland's Merritt Community College. Both were sons of the second Great Migration, born to families that had up and moved north and west to the Bay Area in pursuit of overlapping American and California dreams. Seale's family had come from struggle in Liberty, Texas. By way of more struggle in Dallas, San Antonio, and Port Arthur. The Newtons had escaped, hopefully I'm saying this right, Ochita Parish in northern Louisiana. Between 1877 and 1950, there were 37 lynchings. in Ochita that we know of, a tally that ranks it fifth among the hundreds of counties in the American South for the murder of black men and women. Instead of wartime booms and post-war prosperity, though, the Seals and the Newtons found a familiar sort of same in the Bay. The ground was different, but it grew the same fruits. In other words, the racism was still there. It was a different place, but the racism was there. Newton got little of value out of Oakland's public schools, one saying of his education. This interested me. I did not have one teacher who taught me anything relevant to my own life or experience. I wonder, parents out there, I wonder, do you ask your kids and do you observe them? Do you look, listen, and observe your kids and ask them, hey, what are they teaching you? Do you debrief your kids? I debrief my children. I tell them before and after they get out of school. Much of that you learning is bullshit. Much of it is bullshit. Yeah. You're going to learn here what you need to know for life. That's a game out there, right? That's a game to get investors to give you money. That's what public school is. You're getting an investment to go to a college. That's what you're doing. And it's not said in a way that doesn't encourage, right? I'm still encouraging you, but I want you, when you don't see yourself in the curriculum, when you don't identify with anything, I don't want you to feel bad because it wasn't created. It wasn't constructed for your self-aggrandizement. It wasn't created for the upliftment of yourself, right? For your divinity to tap into your masculine and your feminine divinity. That's not what it was for. It was created to make you a worker to a capitalist system that's going to keep you a slave. You need to know that. But let's debrief. Let's go over some of this stuff. And some of you might say, damn, that's kind of harsh. Well, any system that still teaches Chris Columbus discovered America, that's harsh. Any system that still teaches these babies that Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, and even things like today, St. Patrick's Day, right? Which is an Irish occurrence, which is an Irish holiday. This is signifying or celebrating Irish culture in America, right? That's kind of harsh. I tell my children, how many children, because they want you to wear green on these days. They want you to partake in these holidays. And I always tell my children, listen, during Black History Month, how many of your counterparts wore red, black, and green? During the month of December, how many of those kids are talking about going to the Kwanzaa celebration? Not many. Not many at all. So we have to debrief, but I thought it was interesting that Huey P said that because I still see that today. It's hard for these little brothers and sisters to have a teacher. They might have a teacher they might have a black teacher. Hopefully they have a black teacher that takes stock in them, right? And cultivates their natural talents. But mostly we understand that the public school system primarily, they're lacking on what they call minority involvement, especially the black man. If you're a black man, they need you in these schools. Oh my God, they need you. But he drifted out the classroom and into petty legal trouble that escalated to an arrest for gun possessions at 14, with more arrests to come, right? He graduated from high school, but he was unable to read. A worthless degree in hand, he took upon himself the work of completing, which is to say, starting his own education using a dictionary and Plato's Republic. I think it was when I saw Malcolm X that gave me the idea to read out the dictionary. When you saw it in the movie Malcolm X, Brother Baines, or the character Baines tells him, let's start with the dictionary. And he writes him and says, I read out. That really sparked me and got me to reading the dictionary, actually. Theo had dropped out of Berkeley High School to join the Air Force. Wow, Air Force man, like myself. After 3 years, he walked out with a dishonorable discharge for fighting his commander. But with an understanding of sheet metal working for the purpose of aircraft production and repair. He had a skill. He had a skill, brothers and sisters. So I don't know if you guys know it. For those of you all who are not military, a dishonorable discharge is almost like a felony on your record. Why? Because you cannot, it's hard to get employment with a dishonorable discharge because that tells all employers this man is unfit for any type of organization or structure. He could not. The military said he's unfit. He's dishonorably. we got him out of here dishonorably. So that means you taking a real chance at employing this man or this woman because they couldn't hack it. They either committed a crime that was so extreme that we had to put them out, or that they were just a troop that was so derelict in their duties that it cost the unit, it cost all of us. So we had to get them out of there. So yeah, that's a hard jacket to wear coming out of there. I know I didn't get a dishonorable discharge. I thought sometimes I would have, but I didn't. But I think it's dope that it emphasizes here, right? Working for the purpose of aircraft production and repair. And I know I'm still in the vein of these black militias. We haven't gone anywhere, right? We're still on that in that concept. But I wanted to emphasize with Mr. Seal, he had, even though he didn't really get the vouch or the endorsement of the mainstream, he had a skill. And what we're seeing now is skills are getting people by. With a skill, they used to have skills in the public school. They used to have carpentry. They used to have home economics. They used to have all of these things that you could create a business, right? Now they're taking all the vocations out. You got to go to college and get a higher degree, higher education for that. But with those skills, he was able to support himself. But let me keep moving. The pair, older and with better senses of themselves, decided to give California's public education system another shot, and they enrolled at Merit, right? In the 50s, after the 50s became the 60s, and they were in the undergrad. The actual meeting occurred at a protest against President John F. Kennedy's 1962 naval blockade of Cuba. In the way of such things, they became instant friends. Their paths had crossed before, particularly at the Afro-American Association, AAA, founded by activist Khalid Abdullah Tariq al-Mansur, then Donald Wharton. Mansour Sour, but the circuit hadn't fully completed. So perhaps because they've both been so ill-served by California school education, specifically the state of Merit's curriculum, became a central focus. City schools and other vehicles of California's civic consensus had taken the market. Okay, that is how these two met. Now, I'm going to say this and we're going to move. When a black 16-year-old named Matthew Johnson was shot in the back by a San Francisco police officer in 1966, the pair decided to put that vision of a new politics into action. Joined by an initial cadre that included friends and fellow travelers from the local black militant Demimon, Elbert Big Man Howard, Sherman Forte, Reggie Forte, and Little Bobby Hutton. We all remember Little Bobby Hutton, right? They announced the formation of a new political party on October 15, 1966. An image of the original six circulates, often dated the day of the party's launch, but it's actually from a month later. It still captures the moment in its fullness, in its daring and aspiration, in its seriousness and playful cool. I saw a movie. You know, a lot of my understanding of a lot of these groups, I feel good that I was able to see films that really were able to, you know, show me something, right? They were able to give me something to put my hands on, something tangible, right? They were able to take it from the abstract and put it and make it something naked that I could clearly see and clearly understand. And the movie is called Panther. Mario Van Peebles, I think he directed it, and it stars Kadeem Hardison, Tyrone Turner, Bokeem Woodbine, Kool Moe Dee is in it. I forget the sister's name. Ezel, AJ Johnson, rest his soul. He was in it. Man, it was great. It was really great. And I remember thinking, wow, just like when I saw Malcolm X, it made me go and dig deeper and really look, who are these cats for real? You know, what were they doing? Because, you know, whenever you watch a film, you guys, you have to always be skeptical of it. Number one, they can only put so much in it, but they also take creative licenses with these stories sometimes. So it can be a little bit off to the left or the right. It's up to you to go and dig up and get the exact the right and exact truth. And so, yeah, that movie Panther, it was something by way of helping me to get at least a visual of who the Panthers were. I want to show you. I want to show you guys. Hopefully, it's on here. Yeah, I'm gonna show you guys this scene from the Panthers that I always, and it made me laugh too. It made me laugh as well as proud. Yeah, it made me laugh real loud, man. I was like, wow, really? But yeah, Panther, I want to say Panther is on YouTube as well. Absolutely. You already know. You already know, Free. You already know. I remember I laughed my butt off when I saw it, but later when I became an adult, I laughed my butt off. Look, all right, let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna go over these comments, right? So it says, "Let's go. I'm here, brother. Not missing this show. Absolutely. I'm sharing it now. Yep, that's my brother, Free. Hey, there's Aon. I appreciate you, Aon. I see my brother, Skia the Great. Yeah, let's talk about them Panthers from my state, Louisiana. That's right. Love the Panthers. Yeah, Louisiana and this. Aon says, people now may not be willing to sacrifice their comforts and their love for people they may not appreciate them for it. Hey, people, a lot of times, what I find with human beings, Aon, is people are quite ignorant to what's best for them. You know, it's a verse in the Quran that says, maybe you love something that you should hate and you hate something that you should love. You know, the latter of it is you hate something that you should love. That's the mentality when you are a protector, when you are doing something for people, you can't even worry about, right? Wait a minute, you're saying people, I'm tripping. You saying people might not want to be protectors. I'm reading it slow, right? You're saying that people might not want to be protectors. I think it is. When you go back and look, we talked about Lincoln Heights, Ohio, Aeon, and how those brothers and sisters formed up Watchmen type groups because the neo-Nazis, you know, held a meeting outside, right? They held a demonstration right after the kids or right before the kids got let out of school. And then the KKK came back and were handing out pamphlets and flyers. And so these brothers and sisters not only took it upon themselves in this small town, they took it upon themselves to protect the people, but they are doing like that show, The Watchmen, where they are covering their faces. And when they asked the brother, why are y'all covering y'all faces? Are y'all some sort of vigilante? The brother said, no, we hear that the neo-Nazis, they have access and they learn the identities of the families of people who are doing this. So we're not hiding from the people that we're protecting or even from the people we're protecting the people from. We are protecting our families. And I said, that is awesome. It is the classic superhero disguise yourself, right? If you watch Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, what's her name? Gwen Stacy's father told Peter, you need to cover your face, not because you're scared, but because you have people that you love and you need to protect them. And so that's their way of protecting them. But yeah, there are absolutely people. There have been people. Maybe these young folks, maybe there is a fraction of people who won't get out there. You understand? But there has to be a warrior class. We have to have a warrior class. But I'm going to get back into it. But I want to show you this clip, though, right? This is from Panther. Y'all enjoy.
Something new. You pull out your bag Hey, y'all, come Come out here. Police, the brothers were killed. Get some backup. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here.
So, Huey, so what's your telephone number?
Well, I confirm with you my address. That's all I'm required by California law to do. We ain't broken no law.
Then what are you doing with that gun?
Well, what are you doing with yours?
Let me see that rifle, son.
No. This is my private property. According to California law, we got a constitutional right to bear arms.
What? Don't you name it?
Okay, move along. Go on about your business.
Wait, brothers, sisters, no. You ain't got to go nowhere. This is your business. Stay right here. The law says, as long as you stand a reasonable distance, that's 8 to 10 feet to be exact, you got a right to observe the police carrying out their duties. From what I can see, you're standing 22 feet away from this man. So, brothers, ain't no law being broken.
That's right. You stay right where you are. You ain't got to go nowhere.
Learn about the Black Panther Party.
Is that gun loaded, boy?
Fish and game law clearly states it's unlawful to carry a live round of ammunition in the chamber of a shotgun or rifle in a vehicle. Pig.
Refer to him as officer. Then don't you refer to him as boy.
Well, is it loaded?
I tell you, officer, it wasn't, but now it is.
Ooh, there's a badass nigga. Now, for the last time, boy, what do those guns mean?
They mean, pig, that the Black Panther Party declares you try to brutalize our community, you try to take our weapons. We'll shoot you, man.
Back.
Jesus, I think I done died and gone to heaven.
Yeah, that always, when I look back, when I watched it, he said, them some bad ain't. Sweet Jesus, I done died and gone to heaven. That always cracked me all the way up. I always cried when I saw that. I laughed so hard. Absolutely. The shotgun. Governor Reagan, Free said Governor Reagan hated the Panthers so much, the California legislator at their next meeting changed all the gun laws because of this scene. Absolutely. They created what was called the Mumford Act. They took the guns out of the Panthers' hands and they called it the Mumford Act. And later on in the film, they show where they take a wrong turn. The Panthers run up into the State House with their guns. They didn't mean to do that. But when they went in there, that's how they got arrested. Bobby Seale got arrested. It just became turmoil. This FBI was already monitoring all of their activities, but this just really exacerbated their fall, and they changed laws around where you couldn't carry weapons anymore, but it's called the Mumford Act. I think that's what you're talking about, Free. You know, one thing that, before I move to the next group, right, one thing that always intrigued me about the Panthers was, now you got to remember, this whole defense mechanism, this whole defense era of Black people's history, right? I see you, Free. This was the next phase, because during the Civil Rights Movement, SCLC, Southern Leadership Conference, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, they weren't doing that. Remember, we talked about how some people had issues with their activities. That would have been those people who were engaging in civil disobedience, right? Nonviolence, right? SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. They didn't do this. But now there was a march where Stokely Carmichael said, listen, we want Black power. That marked the Black power phase. And this phase was really, it was really influenced by Minister Malcolm X. Now, you'll find a lot of civil rights activists, civil rights leaders with Malcolm X's name in their mouth, because they're coming to this realization, right, that what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was saying via Malcolm X was absolutely divine, meaning it was right and exact, and it was right on point. Now, What's funny about the Panthers, particularly in this book, Message to the Black Man, it should be mandatory reading for every black family in America. I'm going to say that again. Message to the Black Man should be mandatory reading for every black person in America. In this book, at the very back, we have the Muslim program, right? And in the Muslim program, it says, we believe, we want freedom. We want a full and complete freedom. We want justice, equal justice under the law. We want justice applied equally to all, regardless of creed, class, or color, right? We want equality of opportunity. We want equal membership in society with the best in civilized society. That was at the back of this. This was, and it's when you buy a phone call newspaper, brothers and sisters, when you look at the very back, even to this day in 2025, you'll see what the Muslims want, and you'll see that. Now, why did I say that in relation to the Black Panthers? Because the Black Panthers had a 10-point program as well. And, you know, they called the Panthers, at least Bobby Seale and Huey Newton, they were sons of Malcolm. They were heavily influenced by Malcolm X. And they said as much often, right? But the 10-point program was this for the Black Panther Party, right? We want freedom. We want power to determine the destiny of our black community. We believe that black people will not be free until we are able to determine our destiny. We want full employment for our people. So they basically took what the Nation of Islam had already laid down and they made it their own, right? You see that? They didn't recreate the wheel. They looked at what wheel was already rolling or was already moving, brothers and sisters, and they just, you know, customized it to meet their needs. That's what a lot of people do, right? But nonetheless, so yeah, the next group that I would like to show you guys real quick, right? Real quick. This was a more contemporary group. This group, I'm not sure if you guys remember a few years ago. I'm not sure if y'all remember this group right here. But I'm just giving y'all, there's a history, right? This group, INFAC, right? What did INFAC stand for? The Not Fucking Around Crew. That was INFAC. You know what? Let's play it and see what they have to say. Look at there. Well, we can read it. How about that? And I was wrong. It's not the Not Fucking Around Crew. An all-black group is arming itself and demanding change. They are the INFAC. When two loud bangs rang out on the streets of Lafayette, Louisiana, no one knew where the gunshots came from as protesters gathered to demand justice for another black man killed by police. Among the crowd was a group of armed black men and women who called themselves the Not Fucking Around Coalition, or INFAC. The group did not run toward the gunshots or break formation. Instead, they kneeled on the ground amid the confusion and then walked away after their leader shouted, "Fall back, fall back." The all-black Atlanta-based group was grown in size out of frustration during a summer of protest against questionable policing and the deaths of countless black people at the hands of police, said their founder, John Fitzgerald Johnson. I think they call him Grandmaster Jay. Their presence has caused a stir in the cities they visited, and the group has drawn some criticism after people accidentally fired a weapon during two of their rallies, including the one in Lafayette. Started in 2017, the group has marched in Stone Mountain, Georgia, calling for the removal of the nation's largest Confederate monument. Brunswick, Georgia, for Ahmaud Arbery. Y'all remember Ahmaud Arbery? Ahmaud Arbery, the little brother who they killed down there. He was jogging. They said he was breaking into houses. And it came back that the DA let the guys go. When we heard about it, it was because it had been rehashed, but they had already been through legal proceedings that were fraudulent, right? And it come to find out that the DA was friends with one of the killers. Louisville, Kentucky, demanding more transparency in the Breonna Taylor case, and most recently, Lafayette, Louisiana, in the name of Trayford Pellerin. Along with protesters rallying in multiple U.S. cities, largely white groups have also showed up and asserted their Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Unlike many of those groups, Johnson says his group emerged as a response to enduring racial inequality and police brutality. This is the INFAC, y'all. You see, they got the black flags, they got the Bandera flags, the red, black, and green. INFAC members kneel in the street during a September march in Louisville, Kentucky. We're not effing around anymore with the continued abuses within our community and the lack of respect for our men, women, and children, Johnson told CNN. The all-black group, Johnson said, intends to protect, self-police, and educate black communities on firearms and their constitutional rights. We are not against anyone, says Johnson, who is also known as Grandmaster J. Group is exercising its constitutional rights, founder says. Large black armed groups aren't something often seen in the U.S. The most well-known was the Black Panther Party, established in '66 after the shooting of Matthew Johnson, a black teenager killed by police. The group has since mostly disappeared. INFAC already stands apart from other groups across the country. Thomas Makaitis, a professor of history at DePaul University and author of Violent Extremists Understanding the Domestic and International Terrorist Threat, told CNN, in one sense, it, in fact, echoes the Black Panthers, but they're more heavily armed and more disciplined. So far, they've coordinated with police and avoided engaging with violence, he said. Johnson said the group is made up of U.S. citizens. Exercising our constitutional rights and the color of our skin shouldn't make any difference. Nobody says anything when other demographics pick up weapons, decide to arm themselves, and confront the government over anything from wearing a mask to being cooped up in the house. But when certain demographics arm themselves, all of a sudden people tend to act as if the Constitution doesn't matter. I want to pause. That's absolutely true. We saw in Lincoln Heights, Ohio, where the police, when they were asked about it, they said that the neo-Nazis, they broke no laws, right? And they allowed the KKK to come back. Also, in our White House, in our beloved White House, we saw those people who ran up there, right? We saw those people who rushed the White House. And I think it was a blow. No, in fact, I know it was a blow when a lot of those people were pardoned. Some of those people who were attached to hate groups, when they were pardoned, it said to the people, well, we're going to have to arm ourselves. That's why I always tell people, I'm not necessarily a Trump fan. I want to make that known. I'm not. He's our commander and president. He's our commander in chief. He's our president. I didn't vote for him though, but I understand him. But I'm absolutely critical for things like this. Things like this remind me of who he is at his core, right? And for him to pardon those people, it would only inflame or only motivate people to now say, hey, listen, we have to prepare ourselves, because if they're pardoning people who would now aggress and try to take over a civil coup at the White House, again, what does that leave me in my little town? What does that leave me in my city? It leaves me no protection. It leaves me no support. So there's no moral equivalency when comparing, in fact, to White House armed groups, Makeda said. The White House militia movement is older, larger, probably more heavily armed, certainly more pervasive. It has many more people, and it has been violent. And while Makeda said, in fact, has made some questionable comments, including challenging white armed groups during a Georgia rally, he does not believe that INFAC has an overtly racist ideology. Self-defense is never racist, brothers and sisters. It's never racist. Something to think about that I've observed in society, and I remember seeing this when I was in the military. They had the NOI up there with the hate groups, that with like the neo-Nazis and the KKK. And I'm saying to myself, wow, why is the NOI? And I asked, why in the hell is the NOI up there with these blatantly racist groups that have terrorized and killed not only black people, but Jewish people, Catholic people, people who are minorities, right? Why are they up there with these people? It doesn't make any sense. But to this point, in fact, has made some questionable comments, right, including challenging white armed groups during a Georgia rally. He does not believe that the INFAC has an overtly racist ideology. Why are these questionable comments? We're talking about groups who have very intentional and deliberate actions against other people. These people clearly harm people. In other words, what I'm trying to say to you guys, brothers and sisters, it seems like when black organizations, many times, when they make statements that are truthful, right, that are retaliatory, it is almost equated to white violence. And that's crazy to me. Isn't that crazy? That's nuts. And this is only what I've observed, right? But yeah, we should absolutely arm ourselves. Black and armed in Kentucky, Georgia, and Louisiana. In fact, members clad in black have raised their fists and shouted black power in at least 3 cities without major incidents, but days of tensions have preceded their rallies. Black boots, black pants, black button-down shirt, black mask, shotgun, semi-automatic or rifle, Johnson said in social media video announcing the group's plans to descend on Louisville for July 25th rally. CNN affiliate WDRB reported. The INFAC's arrival quickly became a concern among city officials. At the time, the city had seen more than a month of protests centered on the death of Breonna Taylor, and some had turned violent. See, it's a stark contrast because they're looked at as a threat, and they're coming in after it's already been volatile. It's already been hostile. They're coming in because they're seeing, right? People are most likely being hurt. It's turned violent. People have been oppressed. People have been victimized. And so they're coming in to protect. There again, when you look at what's happening today in Lincoln Heights, Ohio, right? These people, why weren't the neo-Nazis removed, right? Why was the KKK allowed to pass out pamphlets? Because these people aren't hurting anyone, right? It doesn't hurt anyone to pass out inflammatory or racist pamphlets or literature. Well, black people have their constitutional right to carry arms, right? To go within the means, within the letters of the law, so that they're not hurting anyone, they're not harming anyone. If it's not against the Constitution, y'all, I don't see an issue with it. Especially if there's a call for it, if there's a need for it. I've showed you different instances throughout history where it's been called for, right? Per state law, no one other than the Kentucky National Guard or Kentucky Active Militia shall associate together as an armed company or drill or parade with arms without the governor's permission. City officials still decide not to invoke that rule, James said. David James, president of Louisville Metro Council, said officials simply didn't want people marching on city streets with guns. A spokesman for Louisville, Mayor Greg Fisher, said in a statement that city officials have worked hard to communicate with all groups, including INFAC, and have seen largely peaceful protests. Balancing protesters' First Amendment rights with our duty and our practical ability to protect public safety requires flexibility and communication. So this is the INFAC. INFAC held at least 2 rallies in Louisville and demand justice for Breonna Taylor. So I'm going to stop this here, right? Black men shot by the police. They're our visitors. They're our guests, and yet we've rolled out the red carpet for them. Carlos Harvin, Chief of Minority Affairs at Lafayette Consolidated Government, said about the group. A counterpoint to other groups, some experts say, there's one way to police armed groups because every state and city has its own rules, but authorities tend to take a very cautious, almost kid glove approach with them, said Carolyn Gallagher, a professor and senior associate dean in the School of International Service at American University. They are walking a fine line between preventing a gun battle on the streets and not appearing like they are sanctioning armed groups. The group could follow Martin Luther King Jr.'s train of thought, he says, showing a great deal of patience and love for those who were oppressing him, or align more with Malcolm X, who favored self-defense against white violence. Newsflash, Malcolm advocated self-defense against any oppressor, against any aggressor. It didn't matter what color you were. And that's the way it should be. Quickly, What we know about the founder years before Johnson led the INFAC and called on his social media followers to stand up for the black community. He served in the military, and some knew him as the hip-hop DJ and producer. Johnson declined to discuss his life outside of INFAC, but records show he served in the Virginia National Guard and the Army from 89 to 06. He was a private when he left the military, according to the Army. That means he probably got in some trouble. More recently, Johnson unsuccessfully campaigned for the 2016 presidential election as an independent, according to the Federal Election Commission. So see, we see a pattern, right? We see these people who have military training, right? Military service, right? And what was it? And also they are politically active. You see what I'm saying? Right? We saw that with the Panthers. So yeah, that was the more recent group. Now, I want to say Grandmaster Jay, something happened where he got in a little trouble, and I think the group dissolved. I want to say the group dissolved because we didn't hear any more about him. But I remember the Not Fucking Around coalition, excuse me, because I remember they were at Stone Mountain, and the CEO's in the building. Salute. I see. What's going on, CEO? Listen, I remember when they got a lot of press, a lot of notoriety. And I was like, wow, that is amazing. Black men and women too, arming themselves, right? Following constitutional law, engaging in that Second Amendment right. We're not talking about just nobody off the street with a gun with a burner pistol or some numbers, some serial numbers that have, got bodies on it. No, we talking about citizens who are saying, you know what, enough is enough. And it was with this whole Ahmaud Arbery. That's when I first got wind, because they went down there to Brunswick, Georgia. And I was like, damn, how could this happen? I remember thinking to myself, we let them get away with that? But okay. And they went down there, man, and they were not asking. They weren't nice at all, right? They weren't nice at all, right? They went down there like, listen, this should not have happened. We need answers. And yeah, we're not going anywhere. I remember thinking to myself, hopefully, I just wish that we had something like that we could do internally, but also externally. Just an overall Watchmen type group for any and all activities that are harmful to the advancement of our people, right? We need that. We need something like that. Not just for those entities outside, not just for the white people. We need that for some of our own people too. We have groups inside of the Black community that we need help, right? We need help to mitigate, right? We need help to get in line or get into harmony with the rest of the community, right? So yeah, this is a great thing. And you see, most times the conditions are the same. The conditions are the same, right? That create these groups. It's usually something oppressive that happens, some sort of abuse at the hand of authority, or authority doesn't want to step in, right? Authority's not stepping in. So what happens? We have to form up our own groups, just like the Deacons for Defense did in Louisiana, just like the Panthers did in Oakland, just like INFAC did in Georgia, right? Like I said, man, brothers and sisters, we living in a strange time, and a lot of people are feeling empowered. A lot of people are feeling empowered. Wherever you living at, right? You need to always protect yourself, man. Always protect yourself. First rule of boxing is protect yourself at all times. And if you have a family, it's that much more imminent and urgent that you protect yourself, and do it legally, right? Be a law-abiding citizen, right? And learn the laws. Learn the laws and the layout of the land where you are. Because like I read, different states, different cities have different laws regarding carrying weapons, right? So you need to learn. You need to learn about those what do they call it? Reciprocity laws. If you're going from one state and you want to carry, if I go from Georgia to Texas, they have compensated. They have brother and sisterly reciprocation laws. I can carry there the way I can carry in Georgia. But if I go from Georgia to California, it might differ a little bit. But it's up to me as the carrier to know and make myself aware. We have to always do the knowledge, right? Do the knowledge so that we can not get ourselves in any type of trouble. And who is this? We label racist or practicing reverse racism if we point out or criticize the white supremacy power structure. Absolutely. Listen, that's why the internet is so beautiful, you guys, because we can create our own platforms, we can control our own narrative, and we can frame situations the way that they really are. We can get it right and exact, right? I say this all the time. There's an old African adage that says, when lions have historians, hunters will cease to be heroes, right? In other words, the hunter is always telling the story. So the lion is always the savage beast. But what if the savage beast was, what if they encroached upon his domain? What if they came into his habitat and started to cause problems? What if he could tell his side of the story? Then it might look a little bit different. So absolutely, when the power structure tells the story, when they use their media, right, we're always going to be vilified. And the real story is never going to, you have to dig for it. You have to search it out. You have to seek it out. So yeah, man, I really just wanted to come through and talk about that, because when I saw that, man, it really made my heart smile that brothers and sisters would come together. Number one, they would unify. That they would unify, right? And do something great for the greater community, because little kids are seeing that. When you watch that film, The Watcher or The Watchmen, you see how it affected the young people who were in the Tulsa, Oklahoma. They were esteemed that those those brothers and sisters that they fought, right? Hey, this is what we're fighters. Yeah, our town, it was bombed, it was decimated, but we didn't just let them roll over us. We didn't just let them mow us down. We came together. We came together and got it done. And so let us take a cue from them in Lincoln Heights, Ohio. Y'all look that up, Lincoln Heights, Ohio. It's on YouTube. And if you go, I'm getting ready to end the live. If you go to the beginning, you'll see where I showed the actual news clipping where the people of Lincoln Heights have formed these groups, Safety and Watch Patrol. And it's absolutely amazing. It doesn't take a whole band of people like that. It'll only take just a group, a small dedicated group of a few can get it done. Like my man said in the clip I showed, if it have to be one, I'll be an army of one. So listen, man, I appreciate y'all coming out, man. Look, I have some great things in the future, some more interviews, some more great people that's going to give us some great insight from all different walks of life. It's going to share so much knowledge, wisdom, and understanding with the people. I think you guys, in fact, I know you guys are not going to want to miss my next interview. It's a surprise. It's huge, man. And I'm very proud, man, of who's coming, because I know it's gonna offer you guys so much insight on how to do so many things. And it's just good, man. I love to see like this group of people doing things on ground zero, right? Grassroots. This next interview that I have coming up, he's doing things at the grassroots level on ground zero, and he's gonna share so much with us. Listen, y'all, like I always tell you, man, may we all meet in the light of understanding. I appreciate y'all, man. You know where I'm gonna be at next week, next Monday, same bat time, same bat channel, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hey, listen, man, I appreciate you guys. Peace and love, y'all.